What can she do in the situation? The last-ditch effort to save a relationship. She has to set firm boundaries in what she requires for her safe haven, for her safe space, for her ability to love in this relationship. Hey, and what's up, everybody? It's Ellie Marie, and welcome to Soul's Purpose Podcast, the podcast that aims at keeping you vibing high when you're feeling low. So, what's going on? I got no show notes, but I figured when you run out of content ideas, look to Reddit, see what's going on over there. And I found this story earlier. It's pretty interesting. Okay, I thought I couldn't find the story, but I found it. So I scoured Reddit and I found this story. It's pretty interesting from earlier. And I thought, why don't we go over this situation right here, see what she's dealing with. So the story goes, she says, I'm ending my 4-year relationship. So basically the title, he, 33 male, says I, 32 female, am throwing away 4 years over a mistake he made. To keep it short, on 4 different occasions over the last 2.5 years, he's gone drinking and come home to throw a drunken tantrum because I said the wrong thing. Something happened at the bar, or I put my foot down because he's drunk and yelling at me in front of our friends at the bar. Twice I had to leave to go to my sister's house because he was slamming around our small apartment, slamming doors and banging his head on the walls. I've had to wake him up several times because he falls asleep on the toilet or the bathroom floor, and he's had to sleep in his car because of his outbursts. On the second time this happened, he gave me his word that he would be more responsible with his drinking and that he wouldn't have any more outbursts. He said he was going to drink water between each beer, or have sodas and bar food and just one beer. The third time I made it clear that him going back on his word was unacceptable because it shows that he doesn't care that he becomes emotionally and verbally abusive towards me. I told him I was tired of his apologies if he's going to keep doing the same thing. Between all these times, he has continued to get drunk on the weekends, but I've kept my mouth shut to avoid him having an outburst, and things were relatively okay. This last time he went and got drunk at the bar, didn't eat anything, refused the water my sister offered him because she's aware of the agreement we had. And when I arrived, he yelled at me because he was too drunk to keep track of what team he was on, and he misunderstood me when I told him, and he made the wrong shot. My guess it's like they were playing pool or something. We went to get food from a local taco spot, and he couldn't even stand because he was so drunk. I had to pull over on the freeway because he needed to throw up. And when we got home, he fell asleep in the bathroom, and I had to wake him 3 times. I kept my anger about the situation to myself because the sadness of feeling like I needed to leave him because he's just not willing to change was overwhelming. The next morning, he could tell something was up, and he asked if I was okay. I said that I wasn't ready to talk, but he insisted. So I told him that he went back on his word again about drinking responsibly, and that I realized that the only way I was going to avoid his verbal abuse was if I just kept quiet. I told him what I told my ex when I was thinking about leaving. It's not anything I haven't already told you. He left it at that in the morning, and at night I was crying because I was upset that 4 years of my life were going down the drain. And I just folded and asked him why it wasn't good enough for him to want to do better. Then he started to say that I had fault in our relationship ending, ignoring that the only reason I'm leaving is because I can't keep giving him chances to verbally abuse me when he's drunk and angry. I reminded him that he had given me his word and that he had gone back on it twice. He seemed to understand, but the next day he just kept saying that he deserves to unwind on the weekends because he works all week to provide for us. Not like I have a job and am constantly sending him money because he overspends and his account will overdraft when the phone or internet bill charges account. I was getting whiplash from how quickly he was going from being apologetic about going back on his word and him insisting that I'm being unreasonable and unfair. I slept at my sister's house again because I couldn't keep dealing with it, and I was just really emotionally exhausted from all of it. Now he posted on his Facebook that I'm throwing away 40,000 hours of our lives together for 12 bad hours. So I'm asking, am I overreacting? So much to unpack here. But already the first comment is already spot on. Everyone has an intuition. Do you want to listen or not? Just this first comment. Girl, you stayed far longer than I would have. No, you're not overreacting. He's an alcoholic, whether he wants to admit it or not. What is the point of this video? The point of this video is sometimes we are in too deep in our own stuff to realize what the heck is going on. And by assessing someone else's experience, perhaps you can take what resonates for you and see if you've got your blinders on. Because there are so many things I read in here where I'm like, I want to shake her. So let's get into it. I'm ending my 4-year relationship. 4-year relationship. 4 years. Early 30s, still young, all good. But she says in the first couple lines that on 4 different occasions over the last 2.5 years, he's gone drinking and come home to throw a drunken tantrum. So his drinking's out of control, and she's been putting up with it for the last 2.5 years, probably trying to see if he can get his stuff together, but to no avail. And he'd given her his word twice and had gone back on it twice. And it seems pretty clear that he has an issue with his alcohol. So his self-control is not really there. This is something that makes him weak. But he, just like a true addict, he justifies that he's allowed to unwind on the weekends because he works all week. But it's a problem if you're starting to overdraft your account and come home and be abusive to your partner, or shooting the wrong shot on the wrong team. Addiction is a tricky issue. I can make a whole video about it if you want me to. It's kind of a very interesting topic, tied more to spirituality than you'd think. Trust me, I had no clue until I read the big book myself. I'm reading it now from start to at the beginning, but so much to learn. Such a good book. Anyway, so we know that this is someone who is struggling with addiction. It's a form of escapism. There's something he's not dealing with, and he can't confide in his girlfriend of 4 years, which is pretty sad. There were some things, though, that she said that kind of sent some alarm bells going, because she likely has suffered too much damage in this relationship to be able to find her own self-esteem. And now, misery loves company, hurt people. So likely she's just been in this for too long that she now deems herself unworthy. Listen to this. Between all these times, he has continued to get drunk on the weekends, but I've kept my mouth shut to avoid him having an outburst, and things were relatively okay. Besides enabling, she is now people-pleasing and sweeping things under the rug just to maintain peace. This is the typical walking on eggshells, don't know how to move type of situation. That can be really unnerving and unsettling. When you love someone who struggles with addiction, it's the hardest thing ever. It pains you to see the person you love hurt so bad, but then doing it to themselves. So it's like you want to kick them in the back of the head and then hug them at the same time. So that was a little bit of an alarm bell. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So she enables him again by driving him to these establishments out of love, I'm sure. This was not malintent to embarrass him. Let me drive you to the bars and you look at how much of a dumbass you look like. Like, I don't think it was that. I think she genuinely thought maybe he can control himself tonight. Maybe tonight will be different. Maybe, perhaps there's hope. But no, she says, we went to get food from a local taco spot and he couldn't even stand because he was so drunk. I had to pull over on the freeway because he needed to throw up. And when we got home, he fell asleep in the bathroom and I had to wake him up 3 times. This is an intense story. I really feel for her. And I'll get into it at the end of the video, but if you fall too deep in this stuff and you're not strong enough to begin with, and you don't set firm boundaries in what you want and what your safe haven is in a relationship for you, and you just follow this behavior and this energy, it will suck you in. And you will come to a place where you're not strong enough to get out of this, or strong enough to stand your ground or be firm in your boundaries if you have any left at all. Because she just doesn't want to rock the boat. She doesn't want to piss him off and make him angry, so she capitulates. She doesn't say anything so that there's not a war, so he doesn't start yelling at her. She's just trying to keep the peace. This is their life at this time. They're just in survival mode. This is not living. Now, what I find problematic with this story on his part, I mean, it's one thing he's sick, he's not well, he's struggling with addiction, okay? It's a whole other entity. It's a whole other situation. That aside, now perhaps this could be tied in with his struggle with addiction. Certainly, he just has these narcissistic tendencies that pop out. And I know that this word is used a lot, but I mean, I'm going to call it out when I see it. I'm not going to hold back. But, justifying and trying to make light of the situation, saying that he deserves to unwind on the weekends because he works all week to provide for us. So they both work all week, but because he works all week, he deserves to unwind, even though he denies it, has a problem with alcohol. So the justification there is a typical addict move, but it's also like there's no accountability. There's no accountability here. And then, trying to gaslight her and put this all on her, that it's also her fault. Really alarming. He says how quickly he was going from being apologetic about going back on his word and him insisting that I'm being unreasonable and unfair. That's problematic. And the last few lines, it's just the worst. Blame shifting and then guilt tripping. This is the worst. Now he posted on his Facebook that I'm throwing away 40,000 hours of our lives together for 12 bad hours. I'm dying to hear what you think, but seriously, what can we unpack from this? We know that they've been together for 4 years, and this has been something that's been going on for at least half. And even though 4 years is a long time, what about 14? What about 40? Maybe she should have cut her losses earlier. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But if she knows this now and she's firm in this, yes, it's 4 years, but they're in their early 30s. They'll be fine. It's better to cut your losses than to stick around for something that's just going to get worse. Now, that being said, unless, what can she do in the situation? The last-ditch effort to save a relationship. Well, it's pretty clear he struggles with addiction. So the next step would be treatment, maybe AA. She has to set firm boundaries in what she requires for her safe haven, for her safe space, for her ability to love in this relationship. She needs to set firm boundaries about him going to treatment, going to AA, finding a sponsor, doing what he needs to do to get out of this addictive behavior, learn new patterns, rehab himself, work on some healing, and then them work on some healing together. If he's willing to make that move and willing to take that step, they can have a great shot. But that is the hardest part, so I've heard. I haven't directly dealt with AA myself, but I've been someone closely involved with someone involved with that. It's a painful thing. So I empathize with her. She really tried. 4 years is quite a while. But like I say, better to cut your losses than stay in something that you know won't get better. I do wish her the best. I don't know. That was my 2 cents. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you have experience with this yourself and what you're dealing with. And hey, I might get my next video idea from your comment. So let me know what you think. Reddit's the best. Like and subscribe if you want to know when my next video comes out or when I go live. Just hit the subscribe button. It's Ellie Marie, and I'll see you next time. Bye.